First Contact Protocol. Captain Sarah Chen stood at attention in the gleaming halls of Earth's First Contact Center, her crisp blue uniform a stark contrast against the pristine white walls. At 32, she was the youngest officer ever selected to lead humanity's diplomatic relations with the newly arrived Nexarians. The air buzzed with anticipation as she awaited her first meeting with Ambassador Clara. The massive doors slid open with a gentle hiss, revealing a sight that made Sarah's breath catch. Ambassador Clara stood nearly 7 feet tall, her iridescent skin shifting between shades of deep purple and midnight blue. What caught Sarah's attention most weren't the elegant horn-like protrusions curving back from her temples or her elongated fingers. It was her eyes. 3 of them, arranged in a triangular pattern, each one containing swirling galaxies of silver and gold. Captain Chen, Clara's voice resonated with a melodious quality that seemed to bypass Sarah's ears and speak directly to her mind. I trust you understand the gravity of your appointment. Sarah straightened her spine. Yes, Ambassador. I've studied Nexarian protocols extensively and... Protocols. Clara's middle eye pulsed with amusement. Your species' obsession with structure is charming, but you'll find we Nexarians value adaptation over rigid rules. Over the next few weeks, Sarah found herself challenged in ways her training never prepared her for. Clara's management style was unlike anything in the diplomatic handbook. One moment, the ambassador would be discussing complex trade agreements, and the next, she'd be asking Sarah about human mating rituals with unnerving intensity. The situation grew more complicated when Sarah noticed subtle changes in Clara's behavior. The ambassador's skin began shifting colors more rapidly, her movements became more fluid, almost predatory. Other staff members reported strange occurrences, objects floating inexplicably, sudden emotional projections that weren't their own, and an unexplainable attraction toward the ambassador's office. During a crucial meeting with Earth's Security Council, Clara suddenly stood up, her skin flashing brilliant shades of violet. Captain Chen, a word in private. It wasn't a request. In Clara's private chamber, Sarah watched as the ambassador paced, her movements almost hypnotic. There's something you need to understand about my species, Clara began, her voice carrying an unusual tremor. We go through a biological cycle called the resonance. It's challenging to control. Is that what's causing the incidents around the facility? Sarah asked, pieces clicking into place. Clara's 3 eyes focused on her with laser intensity. Yes, and you, Captain Chen, are making it significantly more difficult to maintain control. Me? Sarah took an involuntary step back. What do I have to do with it? Everything. Clara's voice dropped to a purr. My species forms psychological bonds during the resonance. We don't choose our compatible partners, biology does. And somehow, against all astronomical odds, my biology has chosen you. Sarah felt her heart rate spike. What exactly does that mean? It means, Clara moved closer, her skin rippling with colors Sarah had never seen before, that unless we address this situation, my increasing lack of control could jeopardize the entire diplomatic mission. The resonance will only grow stronger, and with it my psychic abilities will become more unstable. The gravity of the situation hit Sarah like a physical force. She wasn't just dealing with a diplomatic crisis anymore. She was caught in the middle of an interspecies biological imperative, and somehow she had become the key to maintaining peace between their worlds. What do you need me to do? Sarah asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Clara's eyes swirled with conflicting emotions. That's the problem, Captain. What I need and what diplomatic protocols allow are very different things. We're about to find out just how adaptable humans can really be. As if to emphasize her point, every object in the room began to float, caught in the field of Clara's unstable psychic energy. Sarah watched as her carefully organized diplomatic manuals danced through the air, a fitting metaphor for how her entire world was about to turn upside down. The first phase of humanity's most important diplomatic mission was about to take a very unexpected turn, and Sarah Chen found herself at the center of it all, facing a challenge no human had ever encountered before: rising tensions. The next morning, Sarah arrived at the first contact center to find chaos. Papers swirled through the air like autumn leaves, computers flickered on and off, and staff members pressed themselves against walls to avoid floating furniture. At the center of it all, Clara stood in her office, all three eyes closed in concentration, her skin pulsing with waves of deep crimson. "Everyone out," Sarah ordered, her voice cutting through the pandemonium. As the staff scrambled to evacuate, she approached Clara carefully. "Ambassador, focus on my voice." "Stay back," Clara warned, her voice distorted by psychic energy. "I can't. The resonance is stronger than I anticipated. Your presence makes it worse." But Sarah didn't retreat. Instead, she moved closer, remembering her grandfather's lessons about facing fear head-on. "Tell me what's happening. Help me understand." Clara's eyes snapped open, swirling with metallic colors. "The resonance isn't just a mating drive, Captain. It's an evolutionary adaptation from when our species first developed psychic abilities. Without proper connection, our powers become unstable, dangerous." A datapad whizzed past Sarah's head, embedding itself in the wall. She didn't flinch. "And this connection, it has to be with me. The resonance chooses based on psychological compatibility, not species," Clara explained, her skin shifting to a deeper purple. "Your mind calls to mine like a stellar beacon. Your determination, your adaptability, your fierce intelligence, qualities my species values above all else." Sarah's comlink buzzed. Earth's Security Council was demanding answers about the disturbances. She silenced it. "What aren't you telling me, Ambassador?" Clara's laughter held a hint of hysteria. "That this has never happened before. That no Nexarian has ever bonded with a non-psychic species. That my government will see this as a catastrophic breach of protocol." The admission hung in the air between them. Sarah watched as a coffee mug orbited her head like a caffeinated satellite. "So we're both in uncharted territory." "My species doesn't handle uncharted territory well," Clara admitted. "We're collectors of certainty. This situation defies millennia of documented resonance patterns." Sarah stepped closer, ignoring the increasing orbit of office supplies around them. "Then maybe that's exactly what both our species need. Humans specialize in uncharted territory." Clara's eyes widened. "You're not afraid." "Terrified," Sarah admitted with a small smile. "But fear never stopped humanity from reaching for the stars. It certainly won't stop us from figuring this out." Their conversation was interrupted by the facility's security system. Red lights pulsed as a computerized voice announced, "Warning. Unauthorized psychic emissions detected. Containment protocols initiating." "No." Clara's panic sent a shockwave through the room. "The containment fields. They'll interpret my powers as an attack." Sarah's training kicked in. "Override Protocol Alpha 7 Delta. Authorization Chen 9943. Override denied. Containment initiating in 60 seconds. Sarah watched in horror as metal shutters began descending over the windows. The containment field would trap them inside and likely interpret Clara's increasingly unstable powers as a threat. "Clara, listen to me." Sarah moved directly in front of the ambassador. "You said we're psychologically compatible. Then connect with me. Use whatever bond the resonance is trying to create." "It could kill you," Clara whispered. "Human minds aren't designed for Nexarian psychic connections." "And containment fields aren't designed for diplomatic incidents," Sarah countered. "Trust me." As the shutters clamped downward, Clara reached out with trembling hands, placing them on either side of Sarah's face. The contact sent electricity racing through Sarah's body. Her vision filled with swirling colors she had no names for, and her mind expanded like a balloon being inflated too quickly. The pain was excruciating, but Sarah held on, focusing on projecting calm, acceptance, and determination. Gradually, the chaotic storm of psychic energy began to stabilize. The floating objects dropped to the ground, and Kalara's skin settled into a soft, pulsing blue. When the connection finally eased, Sarah found herself on her knees, gasping. Kalara knelt beside her, 3 eyes wide with concern, and something else. Wonder. Impossible, the ambassador breathed. You shouldn't have been able to sustain that connection, let alone help direct it. What are you? Sarah managed a weak laugh. Human, just human, and apparently more compatible with you than either of us realized. The containment shutters retracted as the security system returned to normal, but both women knew things would never be normal again. They had crossed a line, one that would have profound implications for both their species. The Security Council will want answers, Sarah said, slowly getting to her feet. My government will demand them as well, Kalara agreed. This goes against every protocol, every tradition. Sarah straightened her uniform, mind already racing with possibilities. Then maybe it's time for some new protocols. After all, isn't that what first contact is all about? As they surveyed the chaos of the office, both women knew this was just the beginning. The resonance was far from over, and its effects were growing stronger. But now they faced it together, 2 pioneers on the frontier of interspecies relations, writing new rules with every beat of their hearts. Breaking protocol. News of the incident spread through diplomatic channels like wildfire. Within hours, Sarah found herself facing a joint emergency session of Earth's Security Council and the Nexarian High Command, conducted via holographic interface. The chamber hummed with tension as faces both human and alien stared down at her and Clara. This is unprecedented, Admiral Harrison's hologram thundered. Captain Chen, you authorized an alien psychic connection without clearance. Do you have any idea of the security implications? Before Sarah could respond, Kalara's 3 eyes flashed dangerously. The alternative was watching your containment systems attempt to neutralize an ambassador experiencing resonance. The diplomatic fallout would have been severe. The Nexarian High Commander, Varrock, leaned forward, his crystalline skin reflecting light in sharp patterns. Ambassador Kalara, your behavior is equally concerning. Initiating a resonance bond with a non-psychic species violates our most sacred traditions. With respect, High Commander, Sarah interjected, the resonance chose me. Neither of us initiated anything. Impossible. Another Nexarian Council member's hologram flickered with agitation. Our species has encountered thousands of others. Never has the resonance crossed such boundaries. Kalara's skin rippled with barely contained emotion. Perhaps that speaks more to our prejudices than our biology, Council Member 6. The debate raged for hours. Humans worried about security risks and potential psychic contamination. Nexarians argued about tradition and genetic purity. Through it all, Sarah noticed Kalara's growing distress. The ambassador's skin shifted through colors more rapidly, and small objects around the room began to vibrate. Enough, Sarah finally stood, her voice cutting through the arguments. While we debate protocol, Ambassador Kalara's condition deteriorates. The resonance is a biological imperative, correct? How long can it be suppressed before causing permanent damage? A heavy silence fell. Varrock's hologram flickered as he shifted uncomfortably. Without proper resolution, the resonance becomes fatal within 1 lunar cycle. Fatal. Sarah's heart skipped. You've been sitting here debating tradition while knowing this could kill her. Kalara reached for Sarah's hand, sending a jolt of psychic energy through both of them. Captain, please. My life is not worth risking interstellar relations. Actually, a new voice spoke up. Dr. Emily Wong, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stepped forward. This situation might be exactly what both our species need. All eyes turned to her as she continued. We've been studying the preliminary data from yesterday's connection. Captain Chen didn't just survive the psychic link, she helped stabilize it. Her brain scans show activity patterns we've never seen before, patterns that suggest humans might have dormant psychic potential. The chamber erupted into chaos. Nexarian council members spoke rapidly in their native tongue, their holograms flickering with agitation. Human officials demanded more data, more tests, more guarantees. If this is true, Vurok's voice cut through the noise. It changes everything we thought we knew about human potential. Sarah felt Kalira's grip tighten on her hand. Through their touch, she sensed the ambassador's turmoil, hope warring with tradition, need battling protocol. I propose a compromise. Sarah addressed both councils. Allow us to explore this connection under controlled conditions. Monitor it, study it, learn from it. This could be the key to deeper understanding between our species. And if it kills you both? Admiral Harrison demanded. Sarah met his gaze steadily. Then we die advancing the cause of interspecies cooperation. Isn't that what the First Contact Center was built for? After more heated debate, a decision was reached. Sarah and Kalira would be transferred to a specially prepared facility where their developing bond could be studied. Both would be monitored around the clock, and at the first sign of danger, the connection would be forcibly severed. As they left the chamber, Kalira pulled Sarah aside. You don't have to do this. The risk is worth taking, Sarah finished. Besides, you're not the only one feeling this connection. Since yesterday, I've been aware of something. Like a door in my mind that was always locked has been cracked open. Kalira's skin shifted to a deep, rich purple, a color Sarah was beginning to recognize as emotional intensity. You can sense it, already. I can sense you, Sarah admitted. Your presence, your emotions. It's like background music in my mind. A small smile played across Kalira's alien features. Then perhaps Dr. Wong is right. Perhaps humans have more potential than either of our species realized. As they walked toward their new quarters, Sarah felt the weight of what was to come. They weren't just test subjects now. They were pioneers on the frontier of interspecies relations, about to discover if humanity was ready for a deeper connection to the cosmos. Behind them, a trail of gently floating objects marked their passage, a physical manifestation of the bond growing stronger with each passing moment. The real test was about to begin. Tests and transformations. The research facility felt more like a glass cage than a laboratory. Sarah and Kalira's living quarters were surrounded by observation windows, monitoring equipment, and enough sensors to track a supernova. Dr. Wong had transformed an entire wing of the First Contact Center into what she called the Resonance Research Unit. Your readings are fascinating, Dr. Wong said, studying her screens as Sarah underwent another brain scan. The changes in your neural pathways, it's like your brain is rewiring itself. Sarah lay still in the scanner, trying to ignore the tingling sensation that had become constant since her connection with Kalira deepened. Good rewiring or bad rewiring? Unprecedented rewiring, Wong answered with poorly concealed excitement. Your brain is developing structures similar to Nexarian psychic centers, but with a uniquely human architecture. From across the room, Kalira watched with all three eyes focused intently. Her skin had settled into a new base color, a shimmering turquoise that seemed to pulse in sync with Sarah's heartbeat. The resonance is changing her, she observed, her voice tight with concern. It's changing both of you, Wong corrected, pulling up another display. Ambassador, your psychic output has stabilized at levels we've never seen in Nexarian records. The human influence seems to be tempering your abilities. Sarah sat up as the scan completed, rubbing her temples. That would explain why I'm not dodging flying furniture anymore. Don't joke, Kalira moved closer, her presence sending waves of concern through their strengthening bond. These changes could be dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous, Sarah countered, standing to face her alien counterpart. But it's also incredible. Watch this. Sarah concentrated, focusing on the empty coffee cup on Dr. Wong's desk. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with agonizing slowness, the cup wobbled and rose an inch off the surface before clattering back down. Wong's equipment went wild, sensors beeping and graphs spiking. Impossible. Captain Chen, You just demonstrated rudimentary telekinesis. Barely enough to lift a coffee cup, Sarah said, wiping sweat from her forehead. Clara could lift this whole room if she wanted to. That's not the point. Clara's skin rippled with metallic highlights, her expression of amazement. No non-Nexarian has ever displayed psychic abilities. Ever. The implications hung heavy in the air. If humans could develop psychic abilities through controlled resonance bonds, it would revolutionize interspecies relations. But as Sarah was learning, every breakthrough came with a price. That night, as they retired to their separate but adjacent quarters, Sarah felt the familiar pressure building in her mind. The resonance was growing stronger, demanding more than just casual contact. Through their bond, she could feel Clara's increasing struggle to maintain control. "We need to talk about it," Sarah said through their shared communication system. "About what?" Clara's voice was strained. "About what happens when the resonance reaches its peak. We can't keep dancing around it." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Clara spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "The full bonding process, it would permanently alter both of us. Our minds, our bodies, our very essence would be intertwined. No Nexarian has ever bonded with a primitive species." Sarah finished, a hint of challenge in her voice. "An equal," Clara corrected. "Someone who could match our psychic potential. The energy involved, it could destroy us both." Sarah moved to the transparent barrier between their rooms, placing a hand against it. On the other side, Clara did the same. Even through the specially designed containment material, their connection sparked visible energy. "Or it could prove that our species are more compatible than anyone imagined," Sarah said softly. "These changes in me, your stabilizing powers, what if this is exactly what's supposed to happen?" Before Clara could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as Dr. Wong's voice came over the intercom. "Emergency in resonance research. Security teams report immediately." Sarah rushed to her observation window and froze at the sight. The main laboratory was filled with swirling energy, equipment floating and sparking. At the center stood a figure that shouldn't have been possible, an Nexarian male, his skin gleaming like polished obsidian. "High Commander Vorok," Clara gasped. "What is he doing here?" Vorok's voice boomed through the facility. "This aberration ends now. The purity of our species must be preserved." As security teams rushed in, Vorok raised his hands. Psychic energy pulsed outward, throwing humans aside like toys. Through their bond, Sarah felt Clara's terror, not for herself, but for what was about to happen. "It's going to try to sever our connection," Clara's mental voice screamed in Sarah's mind. A forced separation at this stage. Sarah didn't need her to finish. She could feel it in her newly awakened psychic sense. A forced separation would shatter their minds like glass. But as Vorok advanced, Sarah felt something else stirring within her. Something uniquely human yet amplified by her connection to Clara. Determination. As Vorok gathered his power for a decisive strike, Sarah knew they had reached a point of no return. The next few moments would determine not just their fate, but the future of human-Nexarian relations. And she wasn't about to let fear of the unknown stop her from fighting for that future. The power within. The air crackled with psychic energy as Vorok advanced, his obsidian skin reflecting the emergency lights like shards of darkness. Sarah stood her ground, pressing her hand against the containment barrier that separated her from Clara. Through their bond, she could feel their energies synchronizing, growing stronger. "You understand nothing of our ways," Vorok snarled, his multiple eyes blazing with ancient power. "The resonance is sacred, meant to strengthen our bloodlines, not dilute them with primitive influences." Sarah felt Clara's anger flare through their connection. Primitive. Energy began to pulse between them, making the barrier vibrate. "Show him, Sarah. Show him what humans are capable of." Dr. Wong's voice cut through the chaos. "The containment field is failing. Their combined energy signatures are off the charts." With a sound like breaking glass, The barrier between Sarah and Clara shattered. They moved together instinctively, hands clasping, minds merging. The sensation was overwhelming, like diving into an ocean of starlight. Sarah felt Clara's consciousness entwine with hers, thousands of years of Nexarian knowledge and power flowing between them. Varrock's attack came like a tidal wave of force designed to rip their minds apart. But instead of fighting it separately, Sarah and Clara moved as one. Sarah's human adaptability merged with Clara's raw power, creating something entirely new. Impossible, Varrock breathed, watching as the humans he had thrown aside began to float gently back to their feet, cushioned by carefully controlled psychic energy. No human should be capable of this level of control. That's your problem, High Commander, Sarah spoke, her voice overlaid with harmonics as Clara's thoughts merged with hers. You're so convinced of what's impossible that you can't see what's happening right in front of you. Through their shared consciousness, Sarah accessed centuries of Nexarian history. She saw how their species had isolated themselves, so afraid of diluting their precious psychic gifts that they had stopped evolving. Meanwhile, humanity had continued to adapt, to change, to grow. Look at your own readings, Dr. Wong called out, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her fear. The combination of human neural plasticity and Nexarian psychic architecture, it's creating something unprecedented. Varrock launched another attack, this one aimed directly at their bond, but where he expected to find weakness, he encountered something that shook his fundamental beliefs. The human mind, far from being overwhelmed by Nexarian power, was acting as a stabilizing force, allowing for greater control and precision than any Nexarian had ever achieved alone. Sarah and Clara moved in perfect synchronization, their combined power forming a protective bubble around the facility's personnel. Equipment that had been floating chaotically settled gently back into place. The wild energy that had been threatening to tear the lab apart coalesced into beautiful, controlled patterns of light. This is what the resonance was meant for, Clara projected her thoughts for all to hear. Not isolation, but evolution. Not purity, but growth. Through their bond, Sarah felt Clara's emotions wash over her, years of feeling different, of questioning the rigid traditions that had governed her people for millennia. She shared her own memories in return, humanity's long history of adapting, of taking the impossible and making it possible. Varrock's attacks grew desperate, but each one was met with a calculated response. Where he sought to destroy, they contained. Where he attacked with raw force, they responded with precision. It was more than just power. It was a demonstration of what their species could achieve together. Enough. Dr. Wong's voice cut through the psychic battle. High Commander, look at these readings. The bond between them isn't just stable. It's creating new neural pathways in both their brains. Pathways that could revolutionize our understanding of psychic potential. Varrock hesitated, his multiple eyes taking in the scene before him. The human security teams were back on their feet, protected by barriers of pure psychic energy. The laboratory equipment, instead of being destroyed, was recording unprecedented data. And at the center of it all, human and Nexarian stood united, their combined power controlled and purposeful. The old ways are not always the right ways, Sarah spoke, her voice carrying the weight of both their experiences. Your people isolated themselves out of fear of change. But change is coming, whether you're ready or not. Clara stepped forward, her skin shimmering with patterns never before seen in her species. The question, High Commander, is whether you will help guide that change or stand in its way. The tension in the room reached its peak as Varrock considered their words. Through their bond, Sarah and Clara prepared for whatever came next. But they had already achieved something remarkable. They had shown both their peoples a glimpse of what was possible when fear gave way to trust, when tradition embraced evolution. The future of two species hung in the balance, and the next few moments would determine whether that future would be marked by cooperation or conflict. Sarah felt Clara's determination match her own. Whatever came next, they would face it together, pioneers on the frontier of a new era in interstellar relations. New horizons. Varrock lowered his hands, the obsidian sheen of his skin dulling as he pulled back his psychic energy. The laboratory fell silent except for the gentle hum of equipment and the soft pulsing of the merged aura surrounding Sarah and Kalira. "Show me," he said finally, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "Show me everything." Dr. Wong sprang into action, pulling up holographic displays of neural scans, energy readings, and genetic analyses. "The changes are remarkable," she explained, highlighting various data points. Captain Chen's brain has developed new structures that mirror Nexarian's psychic centers, but with a uniquely human efficiency. Meanwhile, Ambassador Kalira's powers have become more focused, more controlled than we've ever seen in Nexarian records. And the bond itself, Varrock moved closer to examine the readings. "Stable," Wong confirmed. "More than stable, it's self-reinforcing. Each interaction strengthens their connection while promoting beneficial adaptations in both parties." Sarah felt Kalira's grip tighten on her hand. Through their bond, memories and emotions flowed freely. Kalira's childhood on distant worlds, Sarah's dreams of the stars, both of them searching for something they couldn't name until now. "High Commander," Sarah spoke, her voice steady. "What you're seeing isn't just a quirk of biology, it's evolution in action. Humanity has always been defined by our ability to adapt, to change, to grow. Maybe that's exactly what the resonance was drawn to." Kalira's skin rippled with patterns of deep azure and gold. "Our isolation has cost us more than we realized. While we focused on preserving our abilities, we forgot why we developed them in the first place: to connect, to understand, to evolve." Varrock's multiple eyes narrowed as he studied them. "You realize what you're proposing. If word of this spreads, others will want to attempt similar bonds. The very foundation of our society could change." "It already has," Dr. Wong interjected, pulling up new data. "Look at these readings from the general human population since the first contact center opened. Subtle changes in neural activity, increased sensitivity to psychic phenomena. Humanity has been evolving just by being in proximity to Nexarians, and your people have been changing too, whether you've acknowledged it or not." Through their connection, Sarah felt Kalira's excitement build. "Show him," she urged mentally. Sarah nodded, closing her eyes to concentrate. The air around them began to shimmer as Sarah accessed her newly developed abilities, guided by Kalira's experience. Small objects rose from nearby surfaces, not in the chaotic swirl of uncontrolled power, but in a precise, deliberate dance. Each item moved with purpose, creating complex patterns in the air. "Impossible," Varrock whispered, but there was wonder in his voice now instead of condemnation. "No," Sarah replied, opening her eyes. "Just unexpected, like most of human history." Kalira stepped forward, her skin glowing with pride. "High Commander, we stand at a crossroads. We can fight this change, cling to our isolation, and watch as both our species stagnate. Or we can embrace this opportunity to grow together." The laboratory fell silent as Varrock considered their words. Finally, he spoke, "The Council will need to be convinced. They will demand proof, safeguards, protocols. Then let us be that proof," Sarah suggested. "Monitor our bond, study its effects, use what you learn to establish safety guidelines for future pairs. But don't deny others the chance to discover what we have." Through their connection, Sarah felt Kalira's joy at these words, matched by her own determination. They had moved beyond mere diplomatic relations or biological imperatives. They were pioneers, standing at the threshold of something greater than either of their species had imagined. "There will be resistance," Varrock warned, "from both sides. Many humans will fear these changes, just as many Nexarians will reject them." "Good thing we're both specialists in handling the impossible," Sarah smiled, feeling Kalira's amusement echo through their bond. Dr. Wong cleared her throat. "If I may suggest, we already have a perfect opportunity to demonstrate the benefits of this partnership. The gravitational anomaly in the Carina sector. the one neither human nor Nexarian ships could safely navigate alone. Varrock's eyes widened with understanding. A joint mission, using their combined abilities to achieve what neither species could do separately. Exactly, Wong nodded enthusiastically. We could advance both our scientific knowledge and prove the value of these bonds in a practical setting. Sarah felt Clyra's excitement surge through their connection. The idea of exploring space together, combining human intuition with Nexarian power, was intoxicating. Through their bond, they shared visions of what might be possible, new discoveries, new understandings, new ways of seeing the universe. It won't be easy, Varrock cautioned. You'll be setting precedents that will affect both our species for generations to come. Sarah and Clyra exchanged glances, their minds connecting with practiced ease. Nothing worthwhile ever is, they responded in unison, their voices harmonizing in a way that sent shivers through everyone present. As the details were discussed and plans made, Sarah felt the weight of what they were undertaking. They weren't just testing a biological bond or advancing diplomatic relations. They were charting a course for the future of human-Nexarian cooperation. Each step they took would make it easier for others to follow, opening doors that both species had thought forever closed. The resonance had started as a crisis, but it had become something more, a catalyst for change, a bridge between worlds, a promise of evolution for both their peoples. As Sarah looked at Clyra, feeling their bond pulse with shared purpose and hope, she knew they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The universe was vast, full of mysteries waiting to be solved, and now, for the first time, humans and Nexarians would face those mysteries together, stronger for their differences, united in their desire to grow, to learn, to evolve. Legacy of change. 3 months after the confrontation in the laboratory, the starship Convergence hung in orbit above Earth. The vessel was unique in the galaxy, a hybrid of human and Nexarian technology, crewed by members of both species, including several newly bonded pairs who had followed in Sarah and Clyra's footsteps. Sarah stood on the bridge, her captain's uniform modified to accommodate the subtle changes her body had undergone through the completed resonance bond. Beside her, Clyra's skin shimmed with the deep, steady colors of contentment. Through their now permanent connection, they shared the satisfaction of seeing their work bear fruit. Final preparations are complete. Dr. Wong's voice came over the comm. She had insisted on joining the mission to the Carina anomaly, eager to document the continued evolution of human-Nexarian cooperation. All bonded pairs report ready for deep space navigation. Sarah felt Clyra's pride ripple through their connection. In just 3 months, 5 other human-Nexarian pairs had successfully completed the resonance bond, each bringing unique strengths to their partnership. The process wasn't without its challenges. Not every attempted bond was successful, and both societies were still adjusting to the implications of these changes. Remember when you thought this would be the end of your traditions? Sarah teased mentally, sending Clyra an image of Varrock's face during their first successful demonstration. Clyra's amusement flowed back through their bond. Instead, it gave our traditions new meaning. The resonance was never about preservation, it was about growth all along. Their private moment was interrupted by the ship's A. Captain Chen, Ambassador Clyra, incoming transmission from Nexarian High Command and Earth Central. The holographic projections materialized on the bridge. Varrock's obsidian form stood alongside Admiral Harrison, a sight that would have been unthinkable just months ago. The data from your preliminary tests is remarkable, Harrison began, his usual gruffness tempered by genuine amazement. The combined navigational capabilities of bonded pairs exceed our highest projections. Varrock nodded, his multiple eyes gleaming. The Council has reviewed Dr. Wong's latest findings. The genetic adaptations in both species. They suggest this is more than mere compatibility. It appears the resonance was seeking this outcome for generations. Evolution doesn't make mistakes, Dr. Wong chimed in, unable to contain her excitement. The real question is, what other potentials might we unlock as more pairs bond? The changes we're seeing in neural architecture alone. Sarah felt Clyra's gentle mental nudge, a reminder to keep the scientist focused. Dr. Wong, perhaps we should concentrate on the mission at hand. The Carina anomaly won't wait forever. The anomaly had defied both human and Nexarian attempts to study it, a region of space where conventional physics seemed to break down. But early tests suggested that bonded pairs, combining human intuition with Nexarian psychic abilities, could navigate the quantum fluctuations. Just remember, Harrison warned, this is an observation mission only. No unnecessary risks. Sarah and Clara shared a knowing look. Through their bond, they exchanged memories of all the times unnecessary risks had led to their greatest breakthroughs. Of course, Admiral, they responded in unison, their voices harmonizing in the way that still made others shiver. As the transmission ended, Sarah felt a familiar surge of excitement from Clara. The bridge crew, both human and Nexarian, moved with practiced efficiency as they prepared for departure. All bonded pairs, report to navigation stations, Sarah commanded. Through their shared consciousness, she felt the other pairs connecting, creating a web of synchronized minds that would guide the ship through the impossible. Clara's hand found hers as they took their positions, ready to make history again. Sarah smiled, sending waves of confidence through their bond. With you, always. The Convergence's engines hummed to life, powered by human ingenuity and Nexarian energy manipulation. As they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. What had started as a crisis, an alien commander's biological imperative threatening diplomatic relations, had evolved into something revolutionary. Their bond had opened doors not just between their two species, but to new understandings of consciousness, evolution, and the very nature of connection. Through their link, Sarah felt Clyra's thoughts align with hers. Together, they reached out to coordinate with the other pairs, their combined consciousness creating a neural network more complex and capable than anything either species had achieved alone. All stations report ready, the ship's AI announced. Then let's show the universe what humanity and Nexarians can accomplish together, Sarah declared, feeling Clyra's fierce joy echo her own. As the Convergence leaped into FTL, carrying its crew of pioneers toward the unknown, Sarah and Clara shared a private thought. This was just the beginning. Their bond had started a chain reaction that would reshape both their societies, opening new paths for cooperation, understanding, and growth. The stars streaked past the viewports, and in their merged consciousness, Sarah and Clara saw infinite possibilities stretching before them. They had broken through barriers of biology, tradition, and fear to forge something new, not just a diplomatic alliance or a biological bond, but a blueprint for the future. The resonance, once seen as a crisis to be managed, had become a bridge between worlds, a catalyst for change, and a promise of evolution. As the Convergence carried them toward their next challenge, Sarah and Clara stood together at the helm, living proof that the greatest discoveries come not from clinging to what we know, but from daring to reach beyond it. Their story would be told for generations, not as a tale of human ingenuity alone or of Nexarian power, but as testament to what becomes possible when two species dare to grow together, to change together, to face the unknown as one. The universe, vast and mysterious, stretched out before them, and they were ready to explore it, not as separate species, but as pioneers of a new way forward, forever changed, forever connected, forever evolving.